Trump hopeful of Iran deal after Tehran warns of regional war. Musk calls Spain PM tyrant, who seeks social media ban for under 16s. Prevent cancer before it starts. New WHO study maps risks. U.S. shoots down Iranian drone approaching aircraft carrier, official says. Trump signs spending bill, ending U.S. government shutdown. U.S. President Donald Trump says he remains hopeful about reaching a deal with Iran, despite rising tensions and warnings from Tehran that any American attack could ignite a regional war. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei cautioned that the country would respond strongly to military action, telling citizens not to be intimidated by U.S. threats. He described recent anti-government demonstrations as a failed coup that authorities had suppressed. Trump acknowledged the warning but reiterated his preference for diplomacy, saying he hopes an agreement can be reached. However, he suggested that if talks fail, the consequences remain uncertain. The United States has already deployed an aircraft carrier group to the Middle East after threatening possible military action. The protests in Iran began over rising living costs and expanded into a broader anti-government movement. While officials blame foreign influence, rights groups report far higher casualty figures than government sources. Spain is preparing to ban social media use for children under 16, aiming to shield young people from harmful content such as violence, pornography, and online manipulation. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said platforms would be required to introduce strong age verification systems, not simple checkboxes but safeguards that effectively prevent underage access. Sanchez warned that children are being exposed to digital spaces they are not ready to navigate alone, and pledged tougher laws that could hold tech executives criminally liable if illegal or hateful content is not removed. The proposal triggered a sharp response from Elon Musk, owner of the social media platform X, who criticized the Spanish leader in a series of posts. The plan is part of a broader package of measures expected to begin moving forward soon, though Sanchez's coalition government may face challenges passing the legislation without a parliamentary majority. Researchers say millions of cancer cases worldwide could be prevented by addressing lifestyle and environmental risks. A major international study examining 36 types of cancer across 185 countries found that roughly 7.1 million cases, nearly 38% of all diagnoses in 2022, were linked to modifiable risk factors such as smoking, alcohol use, infections, obesity, air pollution, and exposure to harmful substances. Experts say this growing body of evidence means there is now enough knowledge to reduce cancer risk before it begins, although success still depends heavily on access to healthcare and prevention programs. For the first time, the study also included infectious diseases such as hepatitis B and human papillomavirus, or HPV. Researchers found that infections were the leading preventable cause of cancer among women, while behavioral risks, especially tobacco use, were the primary drivers among men. Despite the availability of effective HPV vaccines, preventable cervical cancer rates remain high in parts of Latin America and sub-Saharan Africa, largely due to limited healthcare access and vaccine hesitancy. The U.S. military says it has shot down an Iranian drone that approached the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea. According to officials, the drone was flying toward the carrier with unclear intent and was destroyed by an F-35 fighter jet in what the military described as an act of self-defense. No American personnel were injured, and no equipment was damaged. The incident comes at a sensitive moment, as diplomats attempt to arrange nuclear talks between Washington and Tehran. President Donald Trump has warned that bad things could happen if negotiations fail, while U.S. warships continue to move toward the region. Following the news, global oil prices briefly rose by more than $1 per barrel, reflecting market concerns over rising tensions. Iran has not directly commented on the shootdown, though a state-linked news agency acknowledged that contact had been lost with a drone in international waters. In a separate development the same day, U.S. officials said Iranian Revolutionary U.S. President Donald Trump has signed a spending bill that ends a 4-day partial government shutdown triggered by a dispute over funding for immigration enforcement. The measure narrowly passed the Republican-controlled House, with some bipartisan support. 21 Democrats voted in favor, while an equal number of Republicans opposed the bill after disagreements over proposed reforms to the Department of Homeland Security, or DHS. The shutdown followed a breakdown in negotiations after a controversial incident in Minneapolis, where federal agents fatally shot 2 U.S. citizens during immigration operations, intensifying the political standoff. To address public concern, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem announced that federal agents in the city will now wear body cameras, with plans to expand the policy nationwide. The Senate had earlier approved funding to keep most government agencies running through September, along with a short-term measure to allow additional time for lawmakers to negotiate a longer-term DHS budget. At the signing ceremony, Trump called the bill a victory, saying it reduces wasteful spending while supporting programs tied to national security and public safety.